Military simulation shooters are cool and often really complex, but what if you try to pull off something similar in 2D in Scratch? Hey, I'm Leonard from Bad Brick Studio. I started working on a Scratch top-down realistic military sim after Bamfux told me about his idea to make one himself. He is an awesome coder and pixel artist, so you should definitely check him out, links in the description. Since I really like my OASIS-Engine, I said he could use it, and this is part of the reason why I'm making videos and tutorials with and about it. However, since I've never tried out to do something similar like this in Scratch, I also wanted to give it a shot for myself. The only realistic military sim I ever played was Project Reality, but since the voice chat didn't work for me, I didn't play a lot of games. However, what is really fun are vehicles, so I also set out to try this for my first time. I already have quite a nice start here and want to work further on this. Here I'll just show what code I have written and how everything works. This is all footage from my Discord stream on Friday 19th March 2021, where I also continued coding on it. If you want to watch these streams too, head over to my Discord. So anyway, let's start with the video.
So you have your little spinny boy, and he has a look distance similarly to the actual Unity Battlefront Scratch thing, with sine and cosine applied. But you can also set it to 0, and then you can just move him with normal WASD. And by pressing L, you can also switch the movement from just global, just always up down, to relative to the position he's looking at. So if I'm pointing here, you can see by the gradient that he's looking there. And if I now press W, he's actually moving in the direction. If I press S, he's moving backwards relative to the position, and D and A, he's moving relative to that. But it can be a bit weird, so I made it an option you can then turn off in a menu when I implement one. And when you hop into the car by pressing E, yes, cars, very impressive. You can drive around, and it has these basic fun cars physics. And I modified them a bit for Humvee. Also, special thanks to Ryan for letting me yoink your Humvee model. Very cool. And so you can crash in things and all, and it uses this simple. Yeah, I'm going to get into the code later. So you can also get out of the car, get into the car. You can't move through the car, and also you can't commit drive over on the other teammate guy. So now into the code itself. So we have the movement type for the human boy. We have the map, and then we have this thing here. This is it resets some of the variables for the max vehicle count, the look offset multiplier, the look distance, the game speed, the game screen layer pixel size multiplier. So the actual at the moment it uses these cars, for example, they are 18 pixels in the world, and the actual same size is also applied to the car here. But you could also do it double the size and then put into the multiplier for the background a 2, and then you could use higher res models for the cars and all of that, which I think is pretty cool. If you are, for example, doing pixel art, which I originally intended to do and might still do, it would be helpful if you couldn't just have a 18 pixels big car. So then it deletes like loading status. So this all here is like my special new loading system I just designed for this project here. So it loads out all of the status stuff, and then it counts every sprite that actually is relevant for the loading, which has to be loaded in. Then it deletes all of clears the log, and waits till the like number of total sprites needed to be loaded is the same amount of the number of sprites actually loaded already. And if that is the case, then the loading is finished, and then it begins with this forever frame loop, which basically simulates like the update function, for example, in Unity. And it makes stuff a whole lot smoother. And for example, so this here is the camera, the simulation camera of the render engine thing. And here it has like this counting script, and then it has like the loading script, and it loads all of the stuff. Then it adds like a loading message, and it increments the total number of loaded assets by 1. And so do others here. And it also, on each tick, it like changes the camera by this whole as function, and like the sign of the direction time the game look distance plus the game move offset is like the thing that makes it point towards the direction it's looking at. And yeah, that's basically this one. If I didn't miss anything, yeah, that's this one. So next we have like the player. The player is also set up pretty nicely. It has like the same kind of stuff. It has some variables, and here's the first important thing. It has a character. So as you join in, as the game starts, the character, let me quickly, is actually human. So the movement type with this custom block is the human, so it has these stats, and it has the script to move like a human. So it defines these stats, and every frame it does the movement of the character type. So it looks at this and looks at what script it needs to use, and then it sees the movement script, which is defined in here, is a wheeled vehicle, so it uses the movement script wheel vehicle, or it is a human, and then it uses the human movement script. And then it does this thing. So this is the engine, the collision thing by Funat, and it's very simple. So if you're moving each frame, and if you go into a thing, then it goes to the last known position. And if you aren't in a thing, then it sets the last known position to your current position, which is very smooth, and it works perfectly. And we then have the human script, which is like just this thing here for the normal script. So this just uses if the up key is pressed, plus if the down key is pressed times -1. So this just looks if it's positive or negative or null, the value, and just multiplies that by like the movement speed, map scale, movement friction stuff. And the other one is just basically the same, just with like the move steps thing. And this is like the vehicle code from Funat. And then we get into the whole character switching mechanic. So when key E is pressed, then the vehicle ID it's touching is set to null. It looks for vehicles it could get in, waits 1 second, and then it enters the vehicle. And vehicle enter exit. So if it already is a human, then it will enter a vehicle in the case there is one, and if not, it like exits the vehicle. And it switches to the movement type. But I'm going to come back to this later, since it's like a bit more complicated, and I need to tell you about how the vehicles work. Then here we have like the whole simulation thing. It's just the same. This one is also easy peasy. It's like the scrolling script just for the background. So if this moves, this moves. And now we'll get to the vehicles. The vehicles are actually pretty simply set up, and I thought it is a rather good idea. So you have a max vehicle count of 10. And then you just instantiate 10 empty vehicle slots that are just like vehicle fluid, if you might say so. And you just have, for example, in this case, the max vehicle count is 10, so you have 10 empty slots, and you instantiate these. And by instantiating, you place a placeholder the things in all of the lists, and it sets like a world position, and it switches to the vehicle and all of that stuff. And then you can manually replace all of these. So the vehicle of ID 1 gets replaced to have the vehicle type car at 000. So X, Y, and direction are all 0, and so you replace this and switch the costume to the name of the kind of vehicle you are. Just for the... So this just switches the costume to like the collider, the correct collider, since they can be differently in size. And so each frame, it looks if it's an empty vehicle slot or it isn't a vehicle at all. In the case it is the sprite, and then it just hides, and if it is a real vehicle, not just an empty slot, it shows and sets the world's position to be like at the correct position every frame. And if you get its vehicle check by pressing E, it like looks if the player is in distance of this particular vehicle, and then just puts the ID in there. And so if the guy is a human and there is a vehicle next to him, so he could get into the vehicle, then it gets the vehicle ID number and stores it for later. It switches to the correct movement script, so the correct character. It goes to the correct location where the vehicle is standing. So if I go here, then I press E, it sets the character to the actual thing. And now you can also see that the collider thing here, first is a human, and when we switch in, it becomes the car collider. So it becomes the car. It replaces it, and it replaces the vehicle slot and makes it an empty slot again. So you basically just remove the vehicle out of the map, and then the second phase comes in. If you are a vehicle and press E, then you exit, and by exiting, you replace the vehicle slot you took with the vehicle you have become, and basically just instantiate a vehicle of the correct type at the correct position where you are standing, and then you clear your vehicle number, move outwards, and become a human again. So as you can see, we can take a look at the vehicle name thing. So it's all empty slots except the first one, which we in this first script here replace to be a car. If I now enter the vehicle by pressing E, you can see that it becomes an empty slot too, but the player in this vehicle ID number, it sets the vehicle ID number to the slot where it took the vehicle from and can instantiate the vehicle again when it leaves it. So if I press E again, you can see that it becomes the car again. And so I thought this was a pretty clever way of actually implementing like the whole vehicle system. So you will always know which place a vehicle has to be instantiated at, and you don't have to like delete and make clones reappear and resort all of the lists and all of that. It's a bit mind-boggling how it works, but I think it's a pretty clever system.
So some devlogs will follow once I add more things. So if you enjoy this, then smash subscribe with notifications on, and don't forget to join the Discord if you don't want to miss my live streams on there. As always, special thanks to everyone who watched, and of course my supporters BAMFux, BlueBlur 2021 and +1.